I'm glad to have you here to talk about this new variant. As I mentioned, this is moving very quickly on all of this, being called heavily mutated, which is why people are seemingly very concerned. And I'm just going to bring you up to date because Dr. Anthony Fauci from the United States, doing an interview just a few moments ago, saying that in the U.S., they're going to be discussing with South African scientists today about this new variant, that there's no indication it is already in the United States, but it certainly, we know, is in a number of other countries, including South Korea, that they are very actively communicating with South African scientists about that they don't know yet if this new variant will be resistant to the vaccines we have. And travel bans, as I mentioned already in the UK and Israel, they're going to look at that. A travel ban is a possibility, is the word that Dr. Fauci used. All of that, by way of introduction to you, Dr. Bogoch, what is the concern about this new variant?
So a couple of things with this. For starters, I think we need to give tremendous credit to the South African scientists and the scientists in Botswana, right? They sequenced this virus, they identified this virus, they shared the results with the world in real time, and they're the reason why we're having these conversations. There's excellent capacity there, and they're utilizing that capacity to the full potential. The second point is, of course, and the main point from all of this is that we just don't know enough about it yet. We don't. There's a lot of people who might be speaking confidently on this. It's okay to raise some concerns, but we actually don't have these answers. And I think these are answerable questions that we'll have more clarity on in the days and, of course, in the weeks ahead. There certainly are some mutations in this virus that are concerning. Some of these mutations might make this virus a bit more transmissible. Some mutations might make this virus evade immunity, for example, from vaccination. But I think we still have to take a step back and suggest that we don't actually know enough about this. And just because you have more mutations, it doesn't mean the virus is actually going to behave in that way in real world settings. Remember, the mutation actually changes the shape of the virus, and we really need to see not just the genetics of the virus, but we also need to see how this virus actually works in clinical settings and in public health / epidemiologic settings as well. We have to see how this virus behaves, and we'll learn more about that. So part of a long-winded answer, but I think it's important. One other thing.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say, it seems like we're going to be getting more of this information very quickly. It seems like everyone is mobilizing on this. As I said, the WHO meeting on this, urging countries not to panic, not to bring in travel bans, because as you quite rightly point out, we don't know yet just how prevalent this will become, whether it will unseat the Delta variant as the dominant strain. But because we've seen how quickly the Delta variant has spread, you get people like health officials in the UK and in the EU saying we have to do everything we can right now to keep it from coming in. And so we're already seeing travel bans. Is that the kind of thing that you think we may see on this? Okay, so this is the sometimes controversial point, but here's how it actually works. If you have a travel restriction to a particular country or a particular region, it's probably not going to be that effective. It probably isn't. Okay, we know people can circumvent these travel restrictions, and because they'll, instead of traveling, for example, from South Africa to the United Kingdom directly, they'll take alternative routes. Okay, this happens all the time. We've seen this happen time and time again through this pandemic with Alpha variant, with Delta variant, with the original COVID-19 variant that emerged from China. So focused travel restrictions are largely performative. They make people feel like they're doing something. They may, keyword may, slow down the spread, but they actually don't stop the spread of this. That's the key point. Now, I'm not suggesting we do this by any means. I'm just talking about this is how you keep a virus out of your country, is if you are very serious about preventing something from entering your country, you have to have border measures and quarantines, okay? That's how you keep it out. I'm not saying we do this. I'm just saying that's the effective way of keeping something out. And even with that, we've seen tremendous difficulties in keeping COVID-19 out. And even countries that have significant geographic advantages have had tremendous difficulties keeping this virus out. So we'll hear more travel bans and travel restrictions, but I think when we look at this in months from now, we'll realize that that was largely performative. Two other quick points that I think are important. Vaccine equity.
This is why people have been talking about vaccine equity the entire time, right? You can't have virus run amok in different parts of the world and think that we're safe, because this is how variants emerge. So vaccine equity is A, the ethical thing to do, and B, prevents or lowers the risk of variants like this from emerging. The other point is this didn't happen overnight. This was probably there for weeks and weeks or months and months, and is probably much more widespread than we know right now. The more you look, the more you find. And that's why these travel restrictions and travel measures probably aren't going to be as effective as people want them to be.